Hi, good morning, everybody. It's Ellie. I am going to do part 3 of my stress management series, dealing with stress. Just a quick review on the first one. I made notes because I'm trying real hard to stay on task. You know me, I chase rabbits. First one I covered what is stress. And touched on some effective coping techniques. Stress is our response to those things in life that can cause anxiety, frustration. Go look at the first one to see it. If you haven't, I'll put that in the link below for part 1. I'll also put a link for part 2 below. And just, if you're enjoying this, hit that like button and subscribe. See what else we got to say. And you guys, come on. I know I'm not the only one in the world who deals with stress. So come on, share a little bit, right? Come on, don't be afraid. Besides that, what is it? The internet allows anonymity. Come on, guys. Leave some comments. What are you dealing with? How do you cope? Maybe you got something that I don't have a clue that, could really be the thing that helps me out. So, the first one I basically covered what is stress. The second one is the stressors, the things that causes stress. Physical, mental, emotional, the family situation, dealing with kids, dealing with spouse issues, dealing with finances, dealing with our parents. My husband and I are in that sandwich generation. Me not so much because my parents are gone, but I do avail myself to help with his mom. Lucky woman, right? She has his focus plus mine. Anyway, so today I wanted to cover, I believe I talked about what I mentioned last time was I wanted to cover some things to help deal with stress. Things that would really, okay, we know now that we are experiencing stress, and here's some things I can do to help myself to cope. So, number 1, time management. I tend to be that free spirit, that I do well with a structured schedule. Okay. When I don't have a schedule, I pretty much either flake off or don't get anything done, or I get focused in on one thing and end up ignoring everything else. Sorry, I talk with my hands. And I've positioned the camera so that mostly you don't see that. Time management. Setting a bedtime. This is going to help with getting the proper sleep. This is going to help with helping you set a schedule. And it's one of those things that you have that conditioned response. And as we get older, why we have that internal time clock and everything, that our body knows it's time to get up, it's time to this. My body knows it's time to get up at 5:30 or 6. When my husband gets up, I fix breakfast, fix lunches, get my coffee and everything. I don't just lay in bed. I just feel, that's something that I can do to help show him that I care, is to help make sure he has a lunch, because I know he rushes around in the morning. He does several things in the morning. He doesn't take time to make his own lunch. So to make sure that he's not coming home absolutely starving, which then causes problems, because if I'm not like right then got dinner ready, then it causes anxiety, it causes tension between us, and then it's like, before you know it, you're like, everybody, and then the evening is shot. So this is just one of those things that I do to help things run smoothly. Okay. You know, when you're a mom, when you're a wife, you do things to help. God, I hate these notifications. You do things just to kind of help things run smoothly, you know, like you schedule the time when you load and unload your dishwasher. I load it up and run it at night. I empty it in the morning, and then I start reloading it throughout the day, running at night. It's just something that helps things just so the gears don't just, you know, it kind of helps things go smoothly. So, anyway, time management. Plan ahead. I hate being surprised. My family was notorious for last minute scheduling. Hey, let's get together and have a barbecue this Saturday and everybody's going to come. It's Thursday night. We already had plans, and so now we're automatically the black sheep because we're not attending the family get together because they waited until Thursday to say, hey, let's get together and see everybody and have some barbecue, laugh, talk, everything, catch up on everything. We decided we're going to go to Branson like a month ago, and we planned. Sometimes you've got to plan ahead, especially if it's going to involve other people. But, you know, for scheduling those things like car maintenance, I have a limited schedule now when I can fit things in to go to sit at the car, auto shop. Not my favorite thing to do. But yesterday I had time because I didn't have to see a certain client that I normally see. They were going to, his daughter was taking him to the doctor. So I had that time available, and I'm like, okay, I'll go ahead and go by this shop. I needed to get my tires rotated. Turned out to be a fiasco, let me tell you. What I wanted to do was to go get a pedicure because I need one desperately. Honestly, I haven't had one other than what I've tried to do for myself, which I don't do a good job of getting rid of the callus and dry skin on my feet. I know, TMI. But that's what I wanted to do with the hour time slot that I had. Instead, I'm like, okay, well, I'll be responsible. I'll do the right thing. I'll go to the shop, sit and wait for them to rotate my tires. Get down there. The life of my tires is like half of what it's supposed to be. Not happy with these tires, let me tell you. This is an expensive thing that we will never buy this brand of tires again because it's got half the life, the life that you expect to get out of tires. This is one of those expenses of life that I hate. We're going to have to spend like $700 on tires, which that $700 could be used for something we like. Although I do like being safe in my car. Okay, so 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. All right. Set boundaries. I, for the longest time, was a yes person, a people pleaser. I couldn't say no. Somebody asked me to do something, okay. The pastor's wife at church, sorry, I didn't mean to bump that. The pastor's wife at church would ask me, can you help out in the nursery? I really didn't want to. Okay, I will, I guess, if I have to. But I didn't want to say if I have to, and it's like, okay, to make somebody happy. I have done this 90% of my life, and it took cancer for me to start valuing my own time and to set personal boundaries of like, no, really, I can't. And I don't have the grace to deal like in the nursery anymore with the small children yelling and screaming. And, if they're going to be my grandkids, okay, bring it on. But then we can just send them home with mom and dad, right? This is the benefit of grandchildren. But you've got to set your guidelines and your boundaries, personally, professionally. Um, there's a lot of personal information that my clients don't need to know about me. I have one client, I absolutely cannot let him have my phone number because he will be calling me 75 times a day. This is what happened to the last aide that had him. She's like, I can't handle it anymore. He's calling me nonstop. And my boss said, do not give him your phone number. Another client, it's a good thing that I gave him my phone number because, like, today he has a doctor's appointment this morning. He's like, oh, hey, by the way, I'm not going to be home tomorrow morning. So I'll see you Friday. So I'm like, okay, cool. You know, it's a good thing he had my number to text me that. I appreciate it that I didn't have to drive 45 minutes into the city to find out, oh, he's not home. Okay. Personal expectations. How do you want to be addressed? Do you want to be addressed by your first name? Do you have a nickname that you go by? Do you have a abbreviated name? Like if your name is Roxanne, do you go by Roxy? Do you want them to call you Roxy, or do you want them to call you Mrs. So-and-so? You know, a couple of my clients, if I said, yes, call me Ms. Mac, it'd be Miss Mary Mac, all dressed in black. The guy who has Alzheimer's, he'd be singing it to me all the rest of the day. I was like, bless his heart. He's a professional musician, so it's not like it'd be like me singing to you guys. But you have to know, okay, if he's going to address me as my first name. Okay? I don't expect this, and so I prefer not hey you or derogatory names. Okay. How you're going to respond to them, what information you allow people to know about you. Some people don't need to know, and this is a benefit that I learned from the government. It's a need to know basis. Not everybody needs to know your personal business. And this is one of the things I have against about all these TikTok videos and a lot of YouTube videos. TMI. You know, we don't need to know all that details, okay? Let it go. Call your bestie. Tell her. We all don't need to know. Okay? And it's like all this drama. Invite your bestie over for a cup. Have a cuppa and sit there and tell her all the details that we don't need to know. Okay. Exercise. Exercise is a great stress reliever. There are so many benefits to exercising daily or 6 days a week. I believe the doctor's recommendation and the American Board of Health, whatever, it's like 30 minutes of moderate exercise daily. This improves your overall health and well-being. It improves your mental health. It improves your circulation. It improves your ability to process things. If you're sitting inactive and sedentary, you end up having more joint achiness because blood flow helps those joints. I gotta tell you, I'll be honest, I've been kind of sedentary. Okay, I've been really sedentary for many years because I don't like to exercise. I have been doing certain things, like I told you guys, the aqua size, I love it. And at the Y with the pool, I love getting in the water, and I haven't been able to attend the aquasize class, but it hit me last night. Well, duh, just go do this stuff in your own time in the pool. So I need to call and ask if I can do that, because with the COVID and all that, there may be restrictions to that too. So I'm going to call and check on that though, because that is something I enjoy and it is beneficial and it helps relieve my joint achiness. So exercise the brain. Do little puzzles. Excuse me. Seek and finds. Those word search things. If you like crossword puzzles, I like video games. I like Nancy Drew video games because they have this like in puzzle thing you got to figure out in them. So it's like, it's not just, sit there and push buttons and get the guy over to here and shoot and shoot and shoot. Nancy Drew is a thinking game, and you've got to engage your brain to solve the mysteries, okay? So I really like Nancy Drew games. I still have them loaded on my computer because after I finish one, and then I go to like the next 2 or 3, and then I can go back to that one. It's like, see if I can get a better time. Okay. Exercise improves our circulation. Mental exercise improves your brain processing. The physical exercise, how many of y'all have ever exercised or done stuff so where, like, we used to go on bike rides on the Katy Trail. In Missouri, we have the Katy Trail. It used to be the Katy, Kansas, Topeka, Kansas. I don't know. You have to look it up. I can't think of what it is right now. But the Katy Trail used to be like railroad trail. I don't know if it was the actual railroad bed, but I know it runs along the river. So it's very possible it used to be the old railroad bed. But it's relatively flat. There's times we would ride our bikes for 30 miles. I think the most we ever did was 45 miles. First 5 or 6 miles, you're like, yeah, this is great. You feel the breeze and you're just like, okay, yeah. You get about 10, 15. Okay, I got to stop, rest a minute, have a few drinks of water. Speaking of which, sorry, I don't know what happened. But then you get to 20, 25, you're like, what was I worried about? What was I upset about? I'm not mad at anybody anymore. Hey, this is good, Those endorphins start running and you're like, I feel good. You knew that I would now. I know, you guys, sorry, I break into songs sometimes. Not that it's a good thing. Anyway, it takes our attention off of the stressors and it allows our brains kind of on that back burner to work on things that we can, I know how to deal with that now. But when you're trying to think of it, it's like, oh my God, what am I going to do? 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 How are we going to deal with this? You're just getting more and more and more stressed and tense, and it's like, not a good thing. You get out there on a bike ride, and I imagine this is the high that runners get, which is like, honestly, I've never been into running. I ran in high school. I don't do it unless I have to. There ain't no bear chasing me, so running is not my forte. But you get out there on the Katy Trail or whatever trail you're riding, and you're going along, and as you just hit that point, it's like, life is good. Life is precious. Look at the scenery. Look at the beauty. Oh, look at that plant. And then you come home, and it's like, your husband catches up to your friend, whoever. Man, I love you, man. And it's like, let's go make out. Whatever. But it takes our attention off of the stressors, and then it allows the back burners of our brains to be working on that. And as those little gears are going, but you're not stressed about it. And then all of a sudden, light bulb, and you know what to do. So that's a good thing. Various forms of exercise, swimming, martial arts. I tried Tai Chi. I crack up because I just keep thinking slow motion martial arts fighting. I know I'm goofy. Walking. Walking is a big thing for me when the weather permitting. Okay, I gotta be honest, right now ain't gonna be no walking because we have a heat index of 107 today. Not gonna be out there sweltering, passing out because this fat chick is out there overheated. No. I like my AC, and the older I get, and with the tamoxifen, I cannot deal with the heat like hardly at all. Yoga is good for a lot of people. I've never really gotten into yoga, partially because I'm just not very flexible. And I know I need to improve that. Used to be flexible back when I was like in my mid 20s, early teens, 20s. Exercise improves the harmful effects of stress. There's short-term benefits, long-term benefits. Arts and crafts. I told you guys I've been doing crumb quilting. Let me see. I have a couple examples here of my crumb quilting. I told you guys about those back there. That's a different kind of quilting. That is, those are top stitched onto interfacing. It's fun. It can be stress relieving, but these are my go-to. So they're a mess. I'll just tell you straight up. With crumb quilting, you take your scraps. Can you all see that? So this is what I start with. Okay, I have one here, a little piece of one. Do you see? These are just all little bitty scraps that I sewed together, and I trim like the big. Sometimes they don't necessarily line up. Basically, you just take two flat edges and line them up, and you sew them together, and then you just keep sewing together. So like on this one, you see there's just a variety of fabrics. It's like whatever I've had in my stash. And I can tell you what most of these were from, not that you really want to know. There's another one. See, this one, I made doll. My dad made my daughter's little doll beds that he made, and so I made a little mattress and sheets and comforters and stuff. This is what I made the little sheets and bed skirts and pillowcases out of, was this fabric. And then there was a couple of others that went with it. This one, I made some masks. A client that I had last summer, she loved Betty Boop. And she had a fantastic collection in her house of all kinds of things Betty Boop. Her name was Betty. See if I can find one of the more colorful ones that are... I don't have like really exciting fabric, but here's like this one. I made kitchen stuff for my daughters with this one. Here's that fabric again. I made some masks out of this one. I made masks out of this one. Here, I made masks out of this one. This was for an old sewing project years ago. This black was something I think that I picked up on sale. This was an outfit that I made myself, a maternity outfit. I believe this was from the shirt that I made to go with a tan khaki skirt and jacket. This was part of my daughter's, I see it's cotton, you can see right through it. That one is part of the kitchen things I made with this. I know that it looks like they don't go together, but they all did. But you just take little bitty scraps of fabric, and then I would trim the edges and then sew the next piece on. And like this one, this was 3 little pieces, and then I sewed this one on. Well, this kind of had like a curve, so I trimmed it to a straight edge and put this one. Mine all end up being kind of you just sew strips of fabric, sew sew it together, and you run it and do a chain stitch and just stitch, 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 stitch. You don't have to stop, think, trim the threads, start over, doing all this thing. You just kind of run it, chain stitching and piecing this together. And it was stress relieving to me because, number one, I'm using up scraps of fabric that I have had for years. I mean, some of these things were like, I made baby clothes for my kids. They're 26 and 24. That tells you how old some of this fabric is that I have had in tubs in the basement. I was like, what am I going to do with this? But I can't bring myself to get rid of it because with arts and crafts, I always like, oh, I have a color of fabric that I can use for that. And then I have to go dig through the tub and find it. Anyway, I've been using up my stash to make stuff. And I'm working on, you saw that I trimmed those in squares. I'm going to have these white, see the white squares. I cut mine in 8-inch squares. And so it'll make a 7.5-inch block. And I'm going to piece it together to make a quilt. Oh, sorry, I'm itching. Last week, it was my scalp that was itching. The rash is gone, so that's taken care of. That's all good. And now I'm just like, this is an ongoing thing with diabetes, just itching everywhere. Plus, I was outside watering my plants and stuff and touched those plants, and so I'm going to have to take another shower before I go to work. So anyway, meditation is a way we can cope with reading, depending on what you're reading. Sometimes reading is relaxing to me, and sometimes reading, I get to a certain point, and it's like, wait a minute, I got to stop here, and I got to write down some notes because I got an idea for a story for me, or, ooh, I know what my character can do in this next scene because this is something, hey, I like how they did that. I think I can use that reaction to do, help with that, the character over here. Or like if it's a nonfiction book that I'm reading, self-help or whatever, I read a lot of those too. I write down some things that it's like, oh, okay, let's start incorporating this. Let's see if I can start doing this and improve my habits, So some of the okay, before I get off the subject, 2 more things that I wanted to mention. Talk therapy. Call your bestie. Hang out with the guys. Go play golf. Whatever. Talk to someone. It can be family member, or maybe it can be a friend. Maybe it's a professional therapist. Who knows? Talking it out helps. Guys, don't be afraid. Stop it. Don't be afraid to talk. My husband is so quiet. Totally opposite of me. I'm the talker. He never gets a word in edgewise. But talk to somebody. Man, this is really stressing me out. I don't know how we're going to deal with this. Talk to your buddy. Maybe go to a therapist. Who knows? You got to talk some things out because hearing yourself talk helps your brain process things. And sometimes it's not about what the other person has to input to as a response. Sometimes it's about, I'm really glad I got that off my chest. Now I can start processing because now you've heard yourself say it, and it makes more of a impact on us when we hear it in our own voice. This is why, like when you read affirmations, reading them out loud, hearing them in your own voice really makes an impact. Avoid known stressors when possible. Maybe you have a toxic relationship, or you have a person in your life that every time causes you stress. Now, you cannot avoid your mom or your mother-in-law or whatever in-laws forever. You're going to have to suck it up, buttercup, and be cordial and be polite, because sometimes when you've got family relationships, you just have to bite your tongue and go about your business. But you know, sometimes there's situations that you know this is going to cause a lot of stress. I'm going to have to excuse myself from that situation. Um, you're invited to a shower of a friend from high school that was a mean girl to you. And she's always kind of kept you around because you're the fat girl that makes them all look good. Or um, they would just kind of say snide comments to you, but you weren't really in the clique. Cliques, I hate. All my life I've dealt with these cliques. You know, whatever. Y'all think you're all that. Have fun. I'm stepping out and it's like, I ain't your whipping boy. Mm-mm. You go pick another fat chick to dump on. Sometimes we have to deal with it, but sometimes they can be avoided. Don't put yourself in the situation that you know is going to cause you stress and cause you to come home in tears to then cry on your husband's shoulder, boyfriend, whatever, who your significant others, and it causes emotional havoc to you. We go back up to this one, boundaries. Avoiding known stressors can be part of setting boundaries. Nope, I'm not allowing you to hurt me anymore. Okay, that can really help yourself. So my homework for you today, it's this morning, my homework for you to do in this video, and I know, I'm sorry guys, I'm long-winded this morning. What can you do to improve your situation? For whatever stress that you're dealing with, what do you think you can do to help that? What are you doing now? How is it helping? How often do you do it? What can you do to add to that to improve? Like, I've been having a pretty healthy diet, getting enough water. Y'all saw my lemon water this morning. I've really been watching my portions, the itching. But you know, I can still make improvements. I can still make better choices. Instead of the peas for dinner, which is starchy and has carbs in it, maybe I should opt for spinach, or I should opt for Brussels sprouts, or maybe some asparagus. You know, something that's a little better for you. Carrots. I love carrots, but again, those have higher carbs. So I'm really got to limit my carbs. And instead of something on bread, I make a lettuce wrap instead of, with bread or a tortilla or a wrap. We really love the sun-dried tomato wraps, but they have carbs. I think they got like 19 carbs per wrap. So I'm supposed to limit my carbs to 15 per meal, 45 for the day. Now, y'all, that ain't a whole lot. You look at some of the nutritional label stuff, that's not a whole lot. So anyway, I can still work on some improvements there. I can improve my exercise. Make deliberate exercise on days that, like yesterday was my day off, sort of. I had one client to see. I probably could have gone for a walk in the park, except for it was like 105 degrees heat index again, then I'm not going to go do that outside. But, I could have gone to the Y and walked the track or get on the treadmill, or, I could have done something. Coulda, shoulda, woulda. But what can you do to improve? And what are you doing right? Sometimes we don't give ourselves enough credit for the things that we're doing right. And me personally, I am like constantly beating up on myself, and there's this self perfectionist thing that I do that is like, oh, I should have, I could have, I would have, I would, it's like, oh, I could be so much further along if only I had. Well, sorry. What are you doing right? I'm making a lot of good choices. Compared to 5 years ago, I am doing 99% better than I was 5 years ago, with a lot of different choices that I was making. So some of the benefits from improving your stressors, I just want to kind of touch on this. We'll cover this a little more. But I was making notes the other day of what I was doing right, because I am notoriously beating myself up over everything. I mean, seriously, a lot of stuff. You tend to look forward to the coming day, and getting up in the morning, it's like, oh, today I'm going to do blah, 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 blah. And you're happy when you get up. And, there's so many times you get up and it's like, oh my God, the day. It's like, ugh, I'm going to need like 3 cups of coffee before I can even get started. Whereas I typically only have 1 cup of coffee in the morning. I am slow getting up in the morning, but my mood when I get up, I'm not dreading the day, which can lead towards depression. I don't deal with depression, but I definitely have anxiety. You start the day with a positive attitude. This can go a long way. You have a positive outlook, you have a positive attitude, and positivity will come your way. And when you speak out things positive, you're bringing positivity to yourself. And I'm not trying to get into some existential crap or, whatever, any mumbo jumbo, but it's real. You speak positive, you get positive. You speak negative, you get negative. You increase your coping skills and your stamina. We went to the antique mall several weeks ago, and my husband commented, I'm really impressed, because usually by now you got to sit down and take a break for a little bit and get off your feet. You haven't stopped once. What's going on? And I said, I've been getting about 10,000, 12,000 steps a day. And he said, well, definitely improving. So how much weight have you lost? I was like, yeah, let's don't go there. Anyway, you'll have more energy and you feel less burdened. Burdened isn't a physical thing, that's a mental thing. When life's burdens are weighing you down, the responsibilities that you have in life, and this is where my husband, I love him dearly, but he carries all of life's burdens and he's carrying them all in here, and then he gets in this headspace that is not good. So he needs to relieve his stress. He just deals with things differently. You're able to make better decisions. 5 years ago, I made some crap decisions. Let me tell you this. I tend to be impulsive. I don't even want to go into details, but let me tell you, in all honesty, I made some really, really crap decisions. You're able to perform better. In my daily job, it's not that I'm not an athlete, I'm not an actor, whatever. But in my daily job, I got to be on. And there are days when I am super tired, but I can still do it. It doesn't take a whole lot of effort to vacuum dust sometimes. My one client that I see every day I have to scrub down his kitchen. My gosh, I don't know what this man does when I'm not there, but given by his kitchen, he's getting into a whole lot of something. One thing he does is he has peanut butter honey bread. There's honey dripped all over the countertop, smears of butter, peanut butter. He goes through half a loaf of bread. It's like, my gosh, he's probably got a problem with constipation from eating so much white bread, because it's like he goes through half a loaf. But, you know, if you're in a, like, let's say you're working in an auto shop and you're out there doing some physical whatever, and you got to torque something down, you know, when you're not in a good headspace, you don't have the energy to, you're like, I'd rather not. And they just want to shut down. Engaging in life is a big benefit to coping with stress. There's been many times I just want to shut down. That's why I've been quiet for a while, because I was just so stressed and whatever. It's like, can't deal with much else. I'm out. But whenever you're doing good, you're like, sure, I can talk to people. I like people, mostly. Sometimes people are like, I just want to go away on a private island forever. But then sometimes you're like, I need people in my life. Let me tell you, this pandemic, being isolated has been murder. It's been like, I gotta talk to my online friends. I gotta call people. I gotta, because my husband, he's more of an introverted person. He can cope a little better, but it's affected him too. And for me, being a very outgoing social person, yeah, it's been a deal. So anyway, part 4 next week. There's some things I want to talk about. Your physiological response to stress, the physical response, things that happen internally that you may not see, but down the road it affects you, okay? So I know I've been long-winded today. I apologize for that, but I had a lot to say this morning, obviously. I really try to stay on topic, but I am what I am. So y'all take care. Hopefully I'll see you next week. Hit that subscribe button. Give me a thumbs up if you liked it. Leave me a comment what you want to hear. If you want to hear more about the crumb quilting, say, hey, let's that's kind of cool. How do you do that? Or like the kind back there. Maybe I'll touch on that next time. So take care, everybody. Right on, my friends. Right on.